you to the NHL All-Star Edition of The Drop. Beautiful Sunrise, Florida.
And we're here to bring you the most serious pregame show we could possibly muster. But instead of that, we're going to bring you The Drop. Alex Ovechkin and Lil Ovi.
Very pleased to be joined here on ESPN's The Drop by Patrick and Pete of Fallout Boy.
Let's go back to Sarah Nurse. Are you kidding me with this? Look at that, the Forsberg.
The Forsberg, baby.
Your reaction. Okay, not bad. So you're liking it. You're liking it.
All right, so I want to begin by apologizing to Fallout Boy. We did not know at the time that we would be interviewing you in a panic room inside of the arena. You know, you chose to wear the green suit, and the whole thing had the veneer of a David Fincher film. Or a snuff film.
It wasn't a green suit, by the way. It was cream. It was just the room.
That was a cream suit that the room turned green?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's exactly what happened. And by the way, this monitor is on. Welcome to The Drop. Thanks for watching wherever you're watching us, whether it's on ESPN YouTube, on ESPN Twitter, the ESPN app. Greg Wyshynski, Ardo Cal. We are leading in to our big game on ESPN, the New Jersey Devils and the St. Louis Blues. Thanks for spending a half hour with us here. Lots to get to, including an interview with Los Angeles Kings netminder Pheonix Copley. That's coming up a little bit later on. The only I think the only player ever in the NHL from North Pole, Alaska.
North Pole, Alaska. Of course, as a Devils fan, we all remember Scott Gomez,
yes,
famously an Alaskan as well. But
who brought the Stanley Cup to Alaska.
To Alaska,
yeah, which was really cool.
Where it was eaten by reindeer. Exactly. I don't know. That's probably not true. I don't know.
But from those teams, we're going to focus on two teams that a lot of hockey fans are talking about right now. We're going to begin with the Boston Bruins. Now, they had a historic start. They have a lot to praise on that team. There's a lot to praise on that team.
Sure.
Little bit of a schneid right now, 2-4 in their last 6 games. Many of those, actually, they have as many losses in those 6 games as they did in the first half of the season, essentially. I wouldn't say there's any panic necessarily. I did love that Jim Montgomery, the coach, was like, well, we're facing some adversity after losing 2 straight. If that's adversity, imagine the other teams in the NHL are like, that's adversity?
Right. But he's smart, right? Like Montgomery at this point is like, please give us adversity. Like, please do not allow us to just skate all the way into the playoffs without any of it. But, you know, slump, again, like you said, relative word. This team is cruising. It's still on a record pace, I believe, for wins in a season.
They would tie at this
They would tie, right. So the beauty of the Bruins is this. Like, we've seen other teams go out and start the season on fire. What makes them special, though, is a guy like Brad Marchand, is a guy like Patrice Bergeron. They have the veterans in that room. They're going to keep it honest whether they're up or whether they're down, and that's a real benefit when you're a team that's come out as strong as they have this year.
Now, speaking of leaders, I want to give a special shout out to Nick Foligno.
Okay.
Because he doesn't need to be a leader on this team. There are a lot of leaders on this team, like you said, a lot of veterans on this team. But Nick Foligno seems to find those opportunities to lead in a room full of leaders.
Right.
Case in point. In all seriousness, when the Mitchell Miller situation happened, he was one of the vocal people who spoke publicly about it.
Right.
In a more lighthearted tone, he was the emergency goaltender backup to hug, the e-hug, as I like to call him. And situations like that.
He was also
always finding there.
He was also the guy that gave the big motivational speech between periods of the Winter Classic, too.
Yes.
But you see, the thing about Foligno that it's interesting, and Kristen Shilton and I wrote a story about the Bruins and sort of inside of what's happened this year to make them as good as they are. He's a perfect example of why the Bruins are doing what they're doing. Everybody we spoke to said the same thing: depth. The depth of this team. And it's not simply just depth of talent. It's the depth to put people in the positions where they can thrive the most. They're not asking Nick Foligno to score 40 goals, right? Nick Foligno just has to be the best version of Nick Foligno he can be. And the fact that the Bruins are that well put together is one of the reasons why they are where they are.
And Jacob Lauko is another good example. He scores his first NHL goal, and Nick Foligno gives him a nice pass. I think he hugged him like 4 times after that goal. He was just so happy. And he just, Lauko just tweeted something about, it's like, hey, my newfound uncle.
Yeah, Uncle Nick.
Uncle Nick. I just love it. So you mentioned depth. I mean, that's one of the ways that you win a Stanley Cup, obviously, is your third and fourth line, your fifth and sixth D-man. You look at that depth, particularly in the postseason. Now, I will say this.
Yeah.
In talking about the Boston Bruins, two Bruins fans, I know this is a small sample size, but here at ESPN, there are a lot of them.
Yeah, there are a few.
The biggest concern that these particular Bruins fans, and you can see this online as well, is the fact that, hey, they're on this historic run. They could break the record for wins, Wish. They could break the record for points in a single season. But then what happens in the playoffs? Look no further than the 2018-2019 Tampa Bay Lightning.
Right.
They are trying to avoid that at all costs. What do you think about that comparison?
I think it's apt because I still remember John Cooper talking to me about that Lightning team that got swept by the Blue Jackets in the first round and expressing the same issue that you hope the Bruins don't have, which is we didn't play a meaningful game for over 2 months. Oh, and the team we played, they've been playing playoff games to get into the playoffs for the last 2.5 weeks. And that's going to be the situation for the Bruins. You know, they're going to play the second wild card. That second wild card right now, the Capitals haven't, but here come the Sabres. Here come the Panthers. Here come the Islanders. Here come the Detroit Red Wings, Arda. Somebody's going to finish in that last wild card, a house on fire, having to have played playoff games just to get in. So I think it is a real concern that they should share with that Lightning team of not having played any meaningful, playoff-style hockey for months on end.
I know this is an interesting question to ask because this is a great team.
Yes.
Like you said, depth, they have stars, they have scoring, they have defense. Their goaltending is clicking.
Yes.
Okay, like Linus Ullmark is lights out. He's pretty much wrapped up the Vezina now.
Probably.
You could make the case.
I'll make the case for Connor Hellebuck as the Vezina guy. I think he's doing more without having the Bruins in front of him in Winnipeg.
Okay, fair enough, but the numbers that Ullmark is putting up is so incredible
They're
that
incredible.
it's almost like undeniable. Nevertheless, my point, the question I want to ask you is there anything about this lineup that gives you any pause as we go into the postseason?
There are ways to beat the Bruins. They're not easy.
Be Canadian? Be a Canadian team?
So one of the things that the Bruins do really well is they activate their defense. When you get to the playoffs, you're going to be able to have a little bit of obstruction, have a little bit of that slowing down, your Hampus Lindholms, your Charlie McAvoys, your Matt Grizzlies. They're going to be able to find ways to slow down that attack a little bit. But the real key for me with the Bruins, statistically, they are below average in handling teams that try to score on the rush, okay? The real key, though, is to getting a second opportunity in the attacking zone against the Bruins. Again, easier said than done when they're this good defensively, but if you can attack them on the rush, get some scoring opportunities and shot attempts, and then collect in the offensive zone and cash it in, you're going to have a chance to beat the Bruins. But again, they don't give you much, and that's the problem.
So the Boston Bruins were a team that, let's be honest, nobody expected this kind of output. You could have picked the team you would have predicted to win the Stanley Cup at the start of the season, and you would not have expected a regular season to the degree that the Boston Bruins have been having right now. A team that maybe isn't so much of a surprise based on their performance last season, particularly in the postseason, but have already incrementally gotten better. The New York Rangers. Look no further than this gentleman right here, Vlad Tarasenko. He's been wanting to get out of St. Louis for a while now. When was the first time we heard that he wanted to be traded out of St. Louis? Finally, he trades one blue for another. He's reunited with his old buddy, Artemi Panarin, and he was paying dividends within minutes of the first game that he played for the Broadway Blue Shirts. How much better do the New York Rangers get with the addition of Vlad Tarasenko?
Well, what the Rangers had in their lineup was a seat being kept warm for a right wing. Whether it was going to be Patrick Kane, apparently the price was too high and they were too worried about his hip to make that deal, or it was going to be a fallback position like Vladimir Tarasenko. And I give the Rangers credit. They didn't have to give up a lot for Tarasenko based on what's in their system. They were able to get some salary retention to be able to do more things at the trade deadline. I think Tarasenko was a lot of teams' backup in case they couldn't get Timo Meier or Patrick Kane, and the Rangers just swooped in and got the guy that they needed. Now, the scary part about Tarasenko on the Rangers is this. You see him with Panarin here? Well, they're not even playing together right now. Tarasenko has been playing with Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider, so that just showcases the depth that they have in their top six, where he can play on either of those lines and absolutely thrive. So that's kind of a scary thing. It makes their top six so complete. He's exactly the kind of player that they need. You know, somebody who shoots the puck as adeptly as him, adds a little bit of size to their top six as well. It's a really brilliant move. I graded it as an A for the Rangers in my trade grade.
Sure.
They deserve a ton of credit. They got the right guy, I think, for their top six.
Imagine a scenario where every player on every NHL playoff team performs optimally, okay? As you would expect them. I'm not talking about all 99 overalls like in the NHL video game. I'm talking about, Vincent Trocheck performs as you would expect optimally, etc.
Yeah.
Every position for the New York Rangers, Shesterkin, Adam Fox, Kreider, Zibanejad, Tarasenko, etc. That team top to bottom to me is a cup contending team. If they win the Stanley Cup, nobody's surprised.
Explain this to me. Are they better than the Bruins? No.
At optimal output, yes.
Optimal output better than the Bruins?
I would say that they...
Okay, you take the Lightning at optimal output, the Rangers at optimal output. Who are you taking in that series?
This year?
Yes.
The Rangers.
I'll take the Lightning in that series. Look at them. Hop on that plus 1,000 right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning,
and they have the same odds, too.
They've got some moves to make, and they're still the Lightning. But the one I'm most intrigued by here, honestly, dude, is the Dallas Stars.
At 1,200.
Yep, I think the Stars are, for my money, the best team in the West, and I don't think they're done yet. I think they're going to just get better before the trade deadline.
Could also be a possible landing spot for some trade names out there.
Well, Patrick Kane, I mean, he's got all his old Team USA buddies in that team, so he might as well.
Why'd you say it like that? Ooh, Team USA. You support Team USA.
I'm a proud American. They didn't.
Not according to that.
They didn't win gold, so you know.
Anyway, we love our rankings here on The Drop. Greg Wyshynski loves rankings on ESPN.com. You actually had a really cool top 10 system that you implemented. This is a series, as I understand it. Can you just give us a little bit of a dive on
the sure.
scoring
So this is the way we work it with our top 10 rankings. We try to rope in some experts, right? So we've got 10 active NHL players, and we got 10 executives, and we had them all submit anonymous ballots to us to rank the top 10 best centers, wings, defensemen, and goalies in the league. The goalie list that we're going to talk about had some surprises already.
There's the list.
Not a surprise at the top. Vasilevsky, Shurkin, Hellebuck, Sorokin, pretty much your top four across the board. You can reorder them however you want. One name I'd like to talk about, Arda, number 9, John Gibson. The experts within the National Hockey League we spoke to, and a couple that are in the goaltending community, ranked John Gibson of the Anaheim Ducks as the 9th best goaltender in this league in the year of our Lord 2023. Now, if this was like 4 years ago, sure, why not? And maybe they're thinking, Arda, that if you take John Gibson off the Ducks, that he reverts back to form and becomes great.
Yeah.
But the days of him being the guy on a bad team putting up real good numbers despite them, well, they're over. I was shocked. I ain't using that word lightly. Shocked that John Gibson made the top 10.
I mean, maybe he is that goaltender, goes to a good team if he does go somewhere at the trade deadline and bolsters them.
Could be.
Could very well be the case.
Yeah, but making the list ahead of Thatcher Demko, ahead of Freddie Anderson, that was the shock for me.
Linus Ullmark at number 7 might be shocking to some just because he's so far ahead in many, many categories. Like the gap between him and number 2 in save percentage is the same gap between like 2 and 13. It's unbelievable. Like just the numbers that Linus Ullmark is putting up. But then again, to your point though, like with Vasilevsky, if you're looking at that list and saying, who do I trust in a game 7?
Right.
Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, that makes sense. So Ullmark at 7 is...
It's where I expect him to be because you have to remember, again, a lot of this is reputation-based. He's done it for one season, and he's done it for one season behind what is a defensive machine led by Patrice Bergeron, with Charlie McAvoy, with Hampus Lindholm, and with Jim Montgomery's system.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of respect for the numbers he's put up, but a lot of hesitation to see, okay, let's see what he looks like after this season and after next season. And is he going to be in that top 4 eventually?
You did another top 10 as well. This time, defenseman.
That's right. Top 10 defensemen in this league. Again, a little bit of controversy based on the ranking here. I think a lot of people...
Cale Makar, number 1? No way.
I don't quite think it's that. But I will say that, the amount of divisiveness over Erik Karlsson at number 6 was surprising for me. Obviously, Erik Karlsson right now is on track to, I believe, have the 11th best offensive season in NHL history by a defenseman, and everybody in front of him is either named Coffee or Orr.
That's not bad.
But that being said, there are still people that believe that Erik Karlsson is putting up offensive numbers thanks to forgetting completely how to play defense.
And we all know that the Norris Trophy is an offensive trophy, so
Right.
Erik Karlsson is a lock for that trophy.
Right. So I talked to some people that believe that he is, he doesn't play D. He should be even. I had one guy tell me he shouldn't even be on this list. But I have talked to other people that
Really?
say, get him out of San Jose, put him on a contender, dangle that carrot of contention and relevance in front of him, and you'll see the old Erik Karlsson that can score at will, but also takes care of business in his own zone. And don't forget, Arda, the best defense can sometimes be offense.
And that's what Erik Karlsson brings. What about Jacob Slavin?
So Jacob Slavin, for me, belongs a little bit higher on this list. The defensive defenseman in our league does not get love, right? And so Jacob Slavin was number 9 on this list. Hey, look, he doesn't put up a lot of points. It's not his job. All he does is get incredible performances out of people like Dougie Hamilton, like Tony DeAngelo, now Brent Burns. He is a rock on which you build a great offensive defenseman. He is a rock on which you build a great defensive team. For me, Jacob Slavin is a very special player. Again, not a great two-way defenseman. You'll get more points out of other people. But for me, should be higher than 9th on this list for what he does.
Jacob Slavin and the Carolina Hurricanes will be in action this Saturday against the Washington Capitals in the next edition of the Stadium Series. Have a look at this time lapse. It's going to be a great time Saturday, 8 p.m., ABC and ESPN Plus, the latest edition of the Stadium Series. 2 things that I look forward to when the Stadium Series gets announced.
What's
Number
that?
1, the venue.
Yes.
Number 2, the jerseys.
The jerseys.
How about the jerseys for this edition? Take a look. This is what we got. You love the Capitals one.
Yeah, I mean, the Weagle, baby. That's all you need. Stretches from shoulder to shoulder. Wasn't too crazy about the Carolina one. I don't think it's really in keeping with the bold, audacious spirit of the Stadium Series, but the Hurricanes fans seem to like it okay, so I can't fault them for that.
Speaking of bold and audacious, how about we rank our favorite Stadium Series jerseys ever? The rule is, has to be a Stadium Series event, cannot be the Winter Classic. So,
Right.
with that in mind, let's get the list.
All right, number 4 for me is the Colorado Avalanche circa 2020. You guys remember the game at Air Force. It's kind of a little bit of an offshoot of the Washington jersey that we're seeing this season. Big, giant A across the chest. I talked to somebody from Adidas, Arda. He said the point was to create a jersey that someone who went to Air Force could see from space. And I think they accomplished it here.
The Great Wall of China, the Staten Island dump, and that jersey.
Exactly.
Right? And the negative space is nice too,
Yeah.
right? Even with the Capitals one this year, the
Love
negative
it.
space on that one.
Love it.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me is the Pittsburgh Penguins circa 2019. Now look, it's hard to put a new spin on a classic sweater. The gold Penguin logo and the helmets combined. This is what the Stadium Series is all about. It is about big, bold, audacious choices. Look at that. Look at the lids, Arda, on the Penguins with this jersey.
And to be fair, the Flyers also, I mean, they're doing a similar vibe with their lids, but yes, the Penguins, it just pops, right?
It really does.
So
It really
nice.
does.
So you got to give them credit. And that's, to your point, you have a column about this,
Yeah.
about the Stadium Series, and just like the vibe of it all.
Yeah, the Stadium Series is, in my opinion, the freaky younger sibling of the Winter Classic. Ever since I saw Dodger Stadium lit aflame by Kiss's pyro the same day they took a picture with Gary Bettman in a headlock, I said to myself, the Stadium Series is for me.
One of the greatest sports pictures of all time. Number 2.
Number 2 on our list, speaking of lids, the LA Kings, again at Air Force. Beautiful, beautiful chrome, baby. Look at those helmets. First of all, the logo that they chose for these jerseys, it's as close as you're going to get to a roller hockey jersey in the NHL. But that's all right. They're LA. What do you think they do in LA? Again, everything about this look is iconic. They actually bought back these chrome lids for their heritage jerseys the following season. It's what the Stadium Series is all about. Memorable, memorable look for the LA Kings.
I know it's polarizing. I love the chrome helmet.
Absolutely.
I think it's cool. All right. Number 1, I think we're in very much agreement on this.
Oh, God, you have to love it. Now, the Nashville Predators in 2022, okay, remember them in the Winter Classic? It was a script Nashville Predators on a yellow stripe on the front of their jerseys. Then they go to the Stadium Series, and it's Smashville! Guitar pick. The font art is actually taken from old concert posters in Nashville. It is one of my favorite jerseys in NHL history, let alone in outdoor games. And I know that there are Predators fans that don't like it. This is, to me, the epitome of the Stadium Series. Smashville on the front, guitar pick in between. I loved it the moment I saw it.
If you're a Predators fan, you don't like that jersey, please tag us on Twitter and let us know. Announce yourselves, because that is awesome.
Reveal yourselves.
Reveal yourselves. All right. Some of those people might have that jersey in the worst column.
Yeah.
What do you have all time in the worst column?
Oh, that's easy for me.
Okay.
It's the Anaheim Ducks. 2014. First of all, I don't like the color. Get rid of this color. I never need to see it on a jersey. You know who owns that corner? The Flyers do, as we saw earlier. Secondly, the Anaheim Ducks have an iconic logo. It is the Mighty Ducks logo. This webbed wing D nonsense has got to go. They made it into a metallic logo for this jersey too. Completely outshone in that game by their rivals. An absolutely atrocious jersey that the Ducks wore that season.
So atrocious that the logo is not even at the bottom here, that I can't even put them in worst. So you're just going to have to assume that it's there.
There's like a webbed D up here, and then there's just like vomit and poo around it.
Yeah, it doesn't even scroll over. That's fine. Anyhow, Stadium Series, Raleigh, North Carolina. Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC and ESPN+. It'll be Evgeny Kuznetsov and the Washington Capitals taking on Sebastian Aho and the Carolina Hurricanes. Now time for an interview. All right, joining us now on ESPN's The Drop is Los Angeles Kings goaltender Pheonix Copley. Pheonix, thanks for joining us, man, taking time out.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
Very difficult question to start things off. You are, of course, from North Pole, Alaska. Is the SantaCon at North Pole, Alaska more of a banger than the SantaCon anywhere else in the United States? I'm thinking New York City.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'd expect North Pole to have the best one. But, you know, I've never been, so...
Yeah, I
to give you a
got
straight answer, I'd have to go to both and rate them. But I would have to, if I guess, I'd say North Pole.
I got to imagine that the lack of a subway system in North Pole, Alaska means the one in New York is a lot different around 2 a.m. But that's just my experience.
You might be hoofing North Pole.
When you tell people you're from North Pole, Alaska, or Alaska in general, what have you found to have been the biggest misconception about your birthplace?
All the Christmas stuff aside, I would say probably people think it's at the very north of Alaska, so they're guessing it's like way up the top of Alaska when it's actually right in the middle of Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So not that really changes a whole lot weather-wise. It's still freezing cold and not a great destination in the winter, but it's a lot more south than people guess just based by the name.
Yeah, you know, I once went to Dublin, Ohio for St. Patrick's Day. I could tell you, I would have rather been in North Pole, Alaska for Christmas.
Pheonix, I want to ask you, this was a cool moment this season. Kings versus Bruins. Alaska goaltender versus Alaska goaltender starting in the game. We had never seen that in the NHL before. You on one side, Jeremy Swayman on the other. Were you aware that this was going to be happening? Like, what was just take us through that night. Like, it was kind of a cool moment.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it's awesome for Alaska hockey, and yeah, he's come up and he's done really well for himself. He's a tremendous goalie, and so it was a cool moment to get to play, you know, another Alaskan goalie and see that Alaskan hockey is kind of continuing to grow and that there's guys coming out of there. So that was awesome, and our age difference makes it so we never really got a chance to play against each other, but you know, I've met him kind of in passing, and he seems like a great guy. I've heard a lot of really good things about him from mutual goalie coaches we've worked with, and so it's awesome to see that he's having success and that he's continued to build on what he started.
Now, I don't use this word lightly, You've been kind of a revelation this year for the LA Kings. I remember covering you with the Caps. Now you're with the Kings. You've been destroying it this year. I mean, you've been like just an absolute, crushing it in goal for them. What has been the difference this season for you with this team to have this breakout year with the LA Kings?
I mean, on a personal note, it's kind of just a culmination of lessons I've learned and just continuing to work to get better every day. And then, this organization, they want to win. All the guys here are pushing to win. So it's a good organization to be a part of for me, where I'm at in my career, where I'm just, I want to win. I want to help whatever team I'm on win. And that's kind of where they're at too. They want to win. So I think that's just kind of clicked, I guess. And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
So you've obviously had a lot of victories. There's one victory celebration in particular that sticks out in my mind. When you shared a moment through the glass with Will Ferrell. He was right against the glass. You saw him, and then a little bit of a high five happening there. Can you just take us through how that happened? Was it spur of the moment? Are you guys friends? How did this occur? It
was just spur of the moment. I had shown a clip of him or something, so I knew he was there. But at the end of the game, I just thought, he seemed like he was really into it. So, I appreciate the work he's done in the movies. Growing up, I was always a big fan of the movies, old school. Obviously, Elf is a big one. But he's had so many good movies, Talladega Nights. So, and growing up, my brothers and I would always watch those, and we always got a kick out of that. So, it's kind of spur of the moment and kind of tipping my hat to his artwork. Quick follow-up. You're from the North Pole. Any issue with the movie Elf? Anything they got wrong? No, they brought a lot of good publicity.
Pheonix, you understand you have a business going on called Athletes Apothecary. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, that was kind of a hobby that my fiance and I started. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, we started making our own tea blends from a farmer's market, getting the ingredients there, the dehydrated peppermint and dandelion root and different stuff like that, and started to just experiment making our own tea blends, and it was kind of a fun thing. And I noticed it was helping me with sleep and kind of hydration, so we thought this would be a cool thing that we could share with other people and start a company. And so we started that process, and about a year and a half ago we opened up, and it's been a fun kind of hobby. And like I said, my fiance kind of runs the company during the season, but it's cool, and I've had a lot of guys try it, and a lot of guys like it, and it's just kind of a hobby. And if you like tea, it's great. It's athletesapothecary.com is the website, and we have teas and superfood blends, and it's good stuff.
Sweet.
Well, we encourage everybody to go and check out the website that Pheonix just mentioned, Athletes Apothecary. Pardon me, say that 5 times fast. Thanks for having fun with us here, Pheonix. We know we asked you the really hard questions. Thanks for being here on The Drop.
Yeah, thank you guys.
A really unique and fun experience is coming to Disney XD in March. The Rangers and Capitals, the Big City Greens Classic. What's it all about? Have a look.
NHL fans, the Washington Capitals and New York Rangers are being transported from the Big Apple to Big City?
I don't understand.
The Green family has invited the NHL to bring the fastest game on 2 feet to the heart of Times Circle. A real game, but in the animated world of Big City.
This is even better.
It's the NHL Big City Greens Classic, coming live to Disney Channel, Disney Plus, Disney XD, and ESPN Plus.
All right, so 2 things. First of all, don't say puck and player tracking never gave you anything. I saw a demo of this a few years ago at a Devils game, and this technology is awesome. Literally, it's the game you're going to watch, but transferred into animated form. And 2, Arda, am I to understand that there is a chance that Tom Wilson and Grandma could get into a fight during this game?
What I can say is I was part of the screen test for this that transpired. It was a ton of fun. I had a blast with that experience. The team from Ed on top all the way down, terrific to work with. I can say that there will be Big City Greens characters taking shifts in the game. It will be in the middle of Times Circle, so this will count as an outdoor game. I can also say that. But like you said, the puck and player tracking technology is heavily in use here.
Yeah.
So the technology technology in real time, it was really, really cool to see.
It's fantastic, and it's just the beginning. I mean, honestly, think about all the IP we own.
Yeah.
If we can get a game where all the players are Ewoks or, I don't know, like stormtroopers.
There's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
With Big City Greens, obviously, it's one of Disney XD's most popular shows, so the collaboration here was a very easy one, a very easy decision to
awesome.
make. So March 14th will be the date, 7 p.m. between the New York Rangers and the Washington Capitals on Disney XD. But now you can head on over to ESPN to watch Devils and Blues. It is John Buccigross and Barry Melrose in studio intermissions. That's it for us here on The Drop with Shinsuke Okal. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.